Hi, a very good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. This is Ami Dave. I'm part of the investment team at Equanimity. We are an early stage venture capital fund. Thank you all for joining in. Our topic for today lies at the heart of every successful startup journey, which is building the dream team. Let's introduce our speaker for today, Abhiram Kolli. His love and obsession for building platforms led him to start Biva Analytics, which is a no-code SaaS tool for e-commerce businesses. Really excited to hear your insights and experiences in crafting the E team. But before we jump into it, Abhiram, I would like to kind of give you a platform to hear your story and your journey and give us a glimpse into what is it that you're building at Viva.
Hello everyone. So I'm Abhiram and I'm one of the founders of this company, Biva. So we are a no-code analytics platform for direct-to-consumer brands. Now, like it looks like very technical in nature, but if you have to explain in like one line, right? If you take any e-commerce business today who is selling online, you'll see like brands selling on marketplaces like Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, Nykaa, like a bunch of marketplaces. They also sell on their own website. Now, from a customer standpoint, it has become very convenient for like to buy. But from a brand standpoint, the challenge is like they have to manage advertising in 10 different places, sales in 10 different places, logistics in 10 different places there, even to kind of understand, am I even profitable doing this, running this business, is like a big problem there. And we are set to solve that problem. We stitch that entire journey of marketing to sales to logistics to payments to accounting and give a consolidated P&L in one single place is the problem we solve. And that's what we do at Biva today. And that within like a few hours of me to our platform.
No, thanks a lot for setting the stage. Now we can probably, let's delve into the heart of the matter and why we're here for, which is building the dream team. So, Abhiram, over to you. Peel back the layers for us. What has been your team building journey like? Did you always have like a vision for your A team, and how has it evolved over time?
Yeah, so to put it there, right, it has evolved from my like the days when I was doing a job. So I worked for like a lot of MNC companies there. So I worked for HSBC, worked for Crystal, I worked for Credit Suisse. I worked in the US, like understood like different like ways of building a team, like different ways of how the team functions, etc. there. So sometime in 2012, I thought of starting off a company. Then I realized, okay, I don't think I was ready there. I was not mature enough, was the at least like the feedback that I got from most of the people there. But one good thing I had was like I had good men all over the place there. So for me, I had my cousin who runs a business, like who's our first generation, I mean, entrepreneur in our family there, who kind of gave me this feedback saying, I don't think you're ready there. You have to be very clear in terms of like I mean, you are doing it all yourself, but you need to delegate, learn to delegate to even start a business there. So it took around 10 years to kind of go through various roles in like being an individual contributor, being a developer, being a manager, being like a product manager, understanding sales, etc. there. So sometime, so 2009 to probably 2016, where I kind of worked in like multiple roles there, multiple locations. So worked in Pune, Mumbai, Chicago, like multiple places there. Gave a certain sense of like maturity that okay, like it's not easy there. But sometime in 2016, we started off a consulting firm called Saras Analytics there. So the first 3 years was like a big problem because like, see, once you start a business, like when you were in a job, somebody would tell you, hey, this is what you do, and you basically do it. And when you start a business, you need to know what domain do you want to even like come into, what kind of company do you want to build. So technically, you need to be like prepared to even like I would say like I tell my team like you need to prepare like to clean bathrooms if like the housekeeping staff like don't come in, right? You just need to be prepared to do that. So 2016 to 2019 is how I would put it, like more an exploration phase where I was doing part-time job and like running is like a company there. I mean, I wouldn't call it a company. We're just exploring things there. Once we understood the domain, okay, there is some domain there. Sometime in 2019 May, I moved back from US to India and then like started becoming a serious entrepreneur there. So initially you have to kind of rely on your friends, so professional friends. That's the help that I got working those 10 years there. Chose my brother and my cousin as the founders there. Then started hiring my old professional friends. So I spent like time in HSBC, CRISIL. That basically helped me there. So first hires were my professional friends whom I have worked with, not just like studied with or something, but like whom I have worked with kind of thing. So once that was there, I had one friend like who is now my founder, Akila, was there. But at least like I know her professionally also. One key was like it is easy to hire freshers. Something I understood like very early on, but it is very tough to hire the senior leadership there. So crack that problem there. Meaning like just hire the senior leadership, because like luckily I've built that network. Pretty much easy to hire my first few hires there within our budget. And because we know them, building that team was like a little easier for me, because the background work for 10 years have been already done.
Right, right. No, that is quite comprehensive and diverse. And before I extend this question a bit more, just since you highlighted that you also had your head join in this startup, how did you manage to sort of convince him and have him on board?
So he was my manager back in HSBC there. So one thing that I know from her like was like she's from Mumbai, and one thing is like from Mumbai, like generally you see like a lot of hustle. Like if you have to live in Mumbai, right, there is a lot of hustle there, and I mean it generally kind of creeps into the professional this thing where you hustle. And startup needs that hustle there. So when I kind of was looking out for, she was like in right, I would say like right place, board of like the job in like a big MNC there. And I kind of told her like a nice story, I guess, saying like, hey, we are building like a nice cool product there. Can you kind of come and join? Because I had that relationship for almost like so many years there, right? It was pretty easy. I mean, or else now I can always say like it was pretty easy, but I could dare and ask her like, hey, can you kind of come into the company there?
Right, right. No, quite interesting. But as you were mentioning, right, for you specifically because of your comprehensive experience, you've not had too much struggle in identifying the right talent. But having the right talent is essentially a north star for any startup. So how do you go about identifying or attracting the right set of talents? And what's your approach been like, and how has it grown over time as the company scales?
I don't want to use the word jugaad, but like you need to kind of like think outside the box there. Now, when I was like trying to hire people there, right? So to 2019, May or June kind of a time frame, I was in Hyderabad there. So people would come like join in a startup in Bangalore, but not in Hyderabad, was like the general phenomenon back then there. Now, 2019 May onwards, I started kind of exploring there. So one advantage, I mean, we have to think the outside the box thinking there, right? Thing is like you will see a lot of people in companies like HSBC or Credit Suisse or CRISIL there working on older technologies there, meaning like you work on an old company like a SAP, an Oracle. I mean, I would call them old because like they have been there for 20 years now. Now they have gained experience in the processes there, but some technologies will get outdated with time there. So I think that I got that sense saying AS400 is an IBM technology which has been there from 1970s there. So I initially started off at AS400 with AS400 there, and I know a few colleagues. We all agreed that hey, this guy will get outdated. Now at that point of time, one of my colleague was learning Python and then basically trying to get into Python because AS400 was shutting down or something. Now instead of basically she joining in as a fresher into another organization right there, right? I know like her skill set. There's a database. I mean, there is a core skill set that is available. She knows processes because you are like hardcore trained with processes when you work in an MNC. And all you have to do is like use that design thinking and basically implement it in a different language like Python there, which is the core of the need of the hour for startups there. So simply I kind of gave her an offer saying like, hey, it's a win-win for both of us. So this is like the salary that you and I could work with, and we kind of got her into the company there. So where she was comfortable at the same time, I was comfortable there. So there were like my founder was moving from Bangalore to Gandhinagar. There, we kind of again figured out a situation where can we come up with an arrangement where you can work remote at the same time work with me to kind of do this. So these kind of like out of box thoughts kind of helped us. The second is like you also need energy, like the startups bring in, like while the MNC brings in the processes and all, you also need energy there. So 2020 March, there was a company that was like shutting down. Not, I wouldn't call it shutting down, but like laying off people is how I would put it. During the COVID time, there were a lot of layoffs that's were happening. Then we kind of went into a company and hired like the chief architect from that company there and got like the entire team there, who's our chief data architect today in this company there. Now he brought in like a lot of energy into kind of building up new stuff and also a mix of like those two actually helped us build that team there.
Got it. No, no, I think hiring, as you rightly mentioned, right, it's like an ongoing process and constantly thinking out of the box to come up with like innovative ways of, hiring, identifying, and of course retaining the right talent. But I think what from our experience also what we've seen is typically startups really struggle in hiring senior hires. Essentially, the guys who come up with a narrative of having left a high-paying job and therefore expect a reasonable compensation. But given the early stage of a startup life cycle, how do you sort of accommodate something like that while you need the talent but you don't have the resources to kind of pay them?
So in our case, right, so when we were starting off Viva, so we know like we were building like a big platform there. So the first thing that we went in is like, hey, I think we are building like a huge platform. Can you basically come into this company as an equity holder there? So we kind of let go a little bit of equity. We kind of gave it to our own employees. I wouldn't say I have given it. Basically, we all kind of came in together and formed this company there. So the moment we kind of said like, hey, you are the owners of this company. They're like, you are part of this company. They're like pretty much like all the senior folks came in. Now, while money, I agree is like the most important thing, right? But like, what problem are you solving is also very important. The moment, I mean, even if you don't have money, but if people get excited with the problem that we are trying to solve, then people will think about it first. Now, of course, like you have to figure out a way to compensate, like either short term or long term. There, that's the art. I think. I mean, it's kind of different for each and every one. In our case, like we said, like we'll start off the company with all of us putting in little money into this company and start this company.
Wow, that's quite interesting to see, team investing and being invested in the long-term vision, right? Like just extending that thought, culture and shared values, essentially, these are two main factors that really glue the entire team together. So how important do you think is these two factors essentially playing for you and essentially building those strategies and aligning everyone with your shared vision and values at Viva?
Uh, See, I will kind of think about it. So first thing, I have to be honest with myself, like what my strengths and weaknesses are. So I mean, generally I'm a product or a technology person. So I'm a little aggressive nature. So I have to bring in a person who has to be complementary. I mean, who brings out a very complementary skill set there. So that's what like Akila brings in there. Now I come up with an outside the box ideas there, but we need to have like complementary skill set of somebody following process to the letter, because like you have to maintain quality in the product there. So we need to bring in someone who has some OCD for processes there. Then you need to have like someone who is like very naturally going out to people, talking to people, enjoys that kind of thing. So the sales actually requires that kind of skill set there. So while I mean, it's more about the qualities that one person brings in, right? The end goal is like very simple. Like, how do you kind of keep your customer really happy or deliver like the best in class product there? If you keep that as your baseline and work backwards there, right? Then you'll hire people who will actually fit into those roles. And then we kind of respect each other, saying like, hey, you bring in this value, you bring in this value, and we all accept each other that like, hey, this is my weakness, this is your strength, and you play to your strengths, I will play to my strength. Everyone together will basically win as a team is the thing. The moment you have this acknowledgement saying like, hey, this is your strength, this is your strength, I think the culture, in my head at least, that is the culture there. We're all like working together automatically.
Right, makes sense. I think it talks a lot about, how you can manage diverse personalities and working styles to ensure that everybody is equally invested and equally committed to your overall vision. So makes sense what you just said. Just to, digress a little bit, what are the, some of the under the radar team building elements that founders usually very easily overlook, but total game changers, especially in your early stage life cycle?
I would think of like three qualities there. So first is basically sincerity. Now you have to be really passionate about like what you are doing. You have to be very sincere about like the effort that you're putting in. Meaning like if you're trying to solve a problem, right? You have to be really sincere uh, in terms of like the effort. I mean, you have to go all lengths to kind of solve that problem there. Now, while sincerity, I kind of find like sincerity in like everyone there, right? But there are two more qualities, which is like patience and discipline there. In my head, discipline is like the key where like I come in every day at 7 o'clock, leave at 6 o'clock in the evening there. So we try to kind of establish some kind of culture saying like, hey, can we kind of try to work there? Having said that, we work like extra hours. I mean, we work like we really hard and all, but we try to kind of follow a certain discipline there. Meaning like 9 o'clock, if the stand up has to happen, the stand up has to happen. Small things. 9:30, the stand up has to happen. Founder, no founder, junior employee, senior employee, everyone has to basically be there. The second is like most importantly the patience part of it, where it will not happen within like couple of months or a month or a few days kind of thing. You need to kind of invest energies into that, where if we don't invest, then we kind of take erratic decisions there. Oh, the client is basically after us. You have to tell him in a way where saying that, hey, it will take some time to kind of build out the product and show you that value. Now how you tell is basically that, but if you kind of are impatient and you push your team downstream there, right, then comes the problem. So I kind of find like these three things there. So discipline, where if you say like, hey, this is a rule, I will follow, and pretty much everyone should follow there. If we have these three qualities, I think like it's a pretty good team there. Everyone should respect that also. Meaning like nobody should feel like, hey, 9 o'clock, why should the stand up be at 9 o'clock? Why can't it be at 11 o'clock there? If everyone believes that, hey, coming out at 9 o'clock will resolve like a lot of issues upfront, and you have like close to around 7-8 hours to work there, and things will fall in place.
Got it, got it. No, this is quite interesting, and thanks for sharing these insights. I think what I'll do is maybe we can probably put it up, open the floor for questions from our audience, and we can take some of those. There is one question from Pia. She says, I want to know, startups often face changes and challenges. How do you handle unexpected situations? And can you share an instance where you had to adapt quickly to a new scenario? And what do you think sets apart working in a startup from a more established corporate environment? That's quite a comprehensive one.
Yeah, so one is like if you are working in a startup, you are always like in an agile environment there. The change is like constant kind of thing. So one example that I can give you is like we sell a product, like I said, right? Biva is the product that we sell, and the customer was basically looking for a certain dashboards there. Suddenly we realized like whatever he was asking for, we cannot deliver because of the life cycle at which like the product was and all. But what we could deliver was the underlying data there. We quickly changed that around, and we said like, hey team, can you work like couple more days, just provide this data to the customer there, and sold data as a product there. At that point of time, you're just not changing. I mean, you're not selling the same product. You're just changing the product altogether and selling it there. So the customer is happy, you're happy. So you just have to adopt it. adapt to that. You can't just kind of stick like, hey, this is the product and this is what I kind of sell.
There's another question from Vinita. She says, "How do you infuse your own values and beliefs into the company culture?"
See, I mean, I will kind of give you an instance there. Last, we recently, I mean, we raised our investments, first round of investment sometime in October there, September, October there. So we were in a pretty tough phase, like I said, right? Like our employees basically actually put in our first round of, first pre-seed round of investment is basically done by our employees there. Now, June to August or September, or like sometime in May, April to August or sometime, right? Like we were struggling with finances. And that's like a natural thing for any startup there. Now, everyone will talk values when everything things are like sound and good and all. But like at that point of time, none of my team basically questioned me about like, hey, how do we kind of solve for salaries? What is our future? Because like they believe that like, hey, I think this product will work. And Abhiram is basically putting in 100% to basically to this company. Let's all kind of put together and basically crack this problem. So for us, like the values basically came in during our tough times, kind of struggled for 3 or 4 months. Like I would say like the toughest phase of our startup. But like we all stuck together and then we kind of came out together like with our investment there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like they say, right? The teams aren't just made; they're forged into moments of commitment from everybody. So yeah, just extending. I think there's a relevant question. Again, extending your investor conversation that you was just mentioning, right? This is by Desmond saying, reflecting on your journey, what lessons have you learned about the symbiotic relationship between investors and startup teams, and how do you leverage it for mutual success?
The first thing you have to wear their shoes also, like investors' shoes also, how they kind of actually raise that money, what kind of commitments did they give to their own general partners there. So once you understand that, then you will kind of say, okay, this is how they are basically they are basically managing their money. The moment you understand that, how do you kind of create a plan which works for both of you? It doesn't mean like you kind of go completely to their side, but can you basically stitch together a plan where you can basically satisfy both the needs, where there's a mutual understanding there. So in our case, in our thing, first thing I had to get clarity before. I mean, investment was the logical end there, but during that journey, first I had to get clarity that okay, how much revenue will I make for this startup to justify a certain valuation for an investor to be interested was like the biggest learning of like the 6 7 months there. Once I was clear about one, we were clear about the problem we are trying to solve, but like you have to be also clear like how do you monetize that problem and when will you monetize that problem. If you're able to put together those numbers really well, then automatically I think like investors will understand that. And I mean, in our case, that was the lesson. Getting ourselves the clarity was the biggest lesson for us.
Yeah, and I think that's also one of the reasons why some companies really struggle to sell a story, right? Because I think when you deep dive and get closer to the beyond the semantics of a business, you really understand, and it kind of breaks it down for you. So yeah, totally makes sense. We can probably take one, two more questions. There's another one from Anand, which says, "What are the potential pitfalls to avoid when building a startup team, and how can they be mitigated?"
So I would say pitfall would be like you assuming that there's a problem, but the problem is not really there for the customer. The second is like while the problem is there, you probably are too early to basically solve that problem, and customer is not willing. Or customer doesn't have the ability to pay. So I would say two pitfalls. One is like willingness to pay by the customer, and like the ability to pay by the customer. If both aren't there, then it's basically a red flag.
Okay, understood. There's one last one. We actually have some 2 3 more minutes. We can probably take two more questions. One is by Yusuf, which she says, "I work in a startup. Results often demand time, and occasional demotivation is now a part of my journey. How can one foster patience and resilience amidst the wait? Any personal tips, please?"
So, I mean, I'll kind of not to sound fair, right? one of my other founder, Akhila, so she told me one interesting line there. She said like, "Hey Abhiram, like you aren't kind of. I mean, it's your choice why you basically work in a startup or an MNC. You are actually not doing anyone any favor by actually working in a startup or MNC. If you enjoy working there, like do it. If you don't, then you kind of move on and like try something else because like we are not kind of for nobody is forcing us to basically be there. So my tip is like as long as you're enjoying it, 30%. If we go anywhere into any job, that 30% will always be like you're not happy there. But as long as we are happy, at least 70% there, I think we are in a good place. I think the way I would measure my thing is like, am I like 70, 80% happy there? 20% I'm not happy. I think like that's how life is.
But is it ever possible to make that 80% go to 100%?
I don't things as long as you are ambitious, right? You'll see like a bigger problem, you'll try to kind of try solving that bigger problem. And then the moment you start solving that bigger problem, then there are unknowns there. Then
Correct.
the 20% will automatically come in.
Got it. Understood. There is one question from Shyam. He asked, how do you promote open communication and transparency within the startup team?
So the way I would promote is basically by empowering them. So making them making I would say enabling them or empowering them to take decisions. If they start thinking in terms of like budgets, I'm not thinking in terms of like work, but if you start thinking in terms of budgets, I think like the open communication will automatically come because like then your communicate your whole discussion will be like, can we do within this budget or no? If we have to do it within this budget, what do we have to do? And automatic. Then once you're honest, saying like, hey, I only have a 5 lakh rupee budget, then you have to work within that 5 lakh rupee budget. And I have seen at least like the moment you fix that budget, automatically communication uh, becomes easier there. But if it is like a flexible thing, then yeah, it will be all over the place. Is how I would.
Yeah, you need to have a fixed, cap it
Objective.
somewhere. Yeah,
Correct.
correct. Got it, understood. I think we can wrap it up, but I have one question before we wrap this. If you could, maybe cherry pick some traits from some successful companies worldwide to build your dream team, what elements would you sort of incorporate? Maybe any global best practices that you can incorporate, and also what's on your dream team wish list?
So I have like picks from like pretty much like every company. Then like Apple is like one company where I pick because like the way they solve those problems, right? Like so if you look at like that iPhone as like that's like a gem of a thing there, right? Like they kind of uh, I mean, if I look at Apple, the reason why I like it, like they did not build everything in house. They went to a glass company who, I mean, I think it was almost going bankrupt or something like that, and then they kind of gave this iPhone glass, which right now, which is there, and then asked them to build that glass, and they kind of picked up each individual components from multiple different companies, stitched them all together, and then made an iPhone there. For me, I would like to work more on the startups, and that is how we are building Viva also, where we don't want to build everything in house. We want to kind of create a supply chain there, where one of them is basically solving certain problems, and we stitch together and build out this platform. Is the vision there, and that is what like we're trying to implement in Viva.
Got it, understood. I think this was very insightful. And just to conclude, I think building the dream team is like an ongoing journey, especially for startups. I mean, building the team is not just like a checklist, right? You have to constantly churn out ideas into reality. And for that, you need, those brilliant ideas to really become reality. You need a very high executing team. And therefore, all of these pointers that we just spoke about become very, very critical. And I think being on the other side of the table as early stage investors ourselves, we understand and also place a lot of emphasis on the quality of the team before we invest in them and back them, right? Because we believe it is one of the major factors contributing to the sustained innovation and growth of a company. And you can call it is like a heartbeat for any successful startup. So thanks a lot, Abhiram. Thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing your valuable insights and experiences with us today. And thank you for everyone who has joined in. Thanks for listening to us. Hope you enjoyed the session.
Thank you, Ami. Nice talking to you.
Thanks.